Chapter 3171. Therefore, he hurriedly sought out the tribe leader of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe, Yuan Huan, and told him about his concerns. WW? 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 Combat Ancestor, you don't have to worry. There's actually another exit in the ghost domain. Those outside don't know about it. Yuan Huan smiled. There's another exit? Upon hearing that, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. That's right. The Taishu dynasty thought that they had sealed the exit of the ghost domain. They don't know that there's another exit. We can leave anytime we want. Yuan Huan said. The main reason we didn't leave is because Combat Ancestor Jingyu has fallen. We have no one to protect us. We've been hiding in the ghost's domain all these years, waiting for Combat Ancestor Jingyu's successor to appear. Also, do you know why Yuan Song and the others want to kill you? Yuan Huan continued. Why? Lu Ming asked instinctively. He was also very curious about this. Yuan Song and the others obviously supported Lu Ming and respected him as the combat ancestor. However, Yuan Song and the others wanted to kill Lu Ming. Ever since Combat Ancestor Jingyu fell, the Dark Ape Battle Tribe has been hiding in the ghost domain. After so many years, some people have changed their minds. Some people think that the Dark Ape Battle Tribe can't stay in the ghost domain forever. They want to take the initiative to fight their way out and occupy a territory for themselves. These people are led by Yuan Song. Actually, they don't mean any harm. They just think that even someone as powerful as Jingyu has fallen, forcing the Dark Ape Battle Tribe to hide in the ghost domain. As for you, you're even weaker. What can you do? They might as well kill you and have freedom from then on. Yuan Huan explained. Lu Ming nodded silently. It was normal for Yuan Song and the others to have such thoughts. However, as long as you can pass the 9th level of the 18 levels of hell and prove your talent and ability to lead the Dark Ape Battle Tribe to glory, Yuan Song and the others will listen to you. Yuan Huan said. Thank you, Patriarch. Lu Ming understands. Lu Ming cupped his fists and thanked Yuan Huan before leaving. Since there was another entrance to the ghost realm, there was no need for him to be in a hurry. He would stay here and subdue the Dark Ape Battle Tribe first. Time flew by. Before long, it was time for the 18 hells to open. Yuan Huan, Yuan Song, Lu Ming, and a large number of Nether Ape Battle Race experts gathered in a flat area. This place was the rear of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe's territory. Open the 18 levels of hell, Yuan Huan said. Immediately, the Dark Ape Battle Clan members stepped forward. Open. A total of 9 warriors of the Dark Ape Battle Clan shouted. Their bodies were covered with a dazzling black light. Then, they slammed their palms heavily on the ground. Rumble. The ground actually cracked open, and a pitch-black crack appeared. Dense ghost chi seeped out of the crack. Battle Progenitor. The 18 levels of hell have been opened. Every level of hell is filled with countless ghosts, and each level has a king. You can only pass if you kill the king of each level. Then, the entrance to the next level will appear. If you don't kill the king of each level of hell, the entrance to the next level won't appear. Yuan Huan explained. How much time do I have? Lu Ming asked. There is no time limit. As long as you can pass the 9 levels of hell, you can spend as much time as you want. Yuan Song said as he walked over. I can spend as much time as I want? Lu Ming was slightly taken aback. This was beyond his expectations. He thought that there would be a time limit. Because there is no fixed time limit for each level of hell. It is normal for some to spend thousands of years to pass one level. It is normal for people to spend tens of thousands of years to pass all 9 levels of hell. Therefore, there is no time limit. No matter how long you spend, your ultimate goal is to pass the 9 levels of hell. However, no matter how long it takes, we will wait. Yuan Song said with a cold expression. Tens of thousands of years? Lu Ming muttered. It seemed like it would not be easy to pass the 9 levels of hell. Moreover, he did not have that much time to waste here. He had to pass the 9 levels of hell within 180 years. He still had to participate in the Great Void Imperial Academy's examination. Battle Ancestor, take this jade talisman. At this moment, Yuan Huan took out a jade talisman and handed it to Lu Ming. This is Lu Ming took it and was a little surprised. The 18 levels of hell are very special. The lower you go, the stronger you will be. If you encounter any danger and you are no match for them, you can crush this jade talisman and it will send you out. At the same time, you can inject a strand of your aura into the jade talisman. We will know if you are alive or dead, Yuan Huan said. Lu Ming understood. This jade talisman could save his life at a critical moment. At the same time, it could also detect whether he was alive or dead. If he died in there, Yuan Huan, Yuan Song, and the others would not have to wait. Otherwise, if Lu Ming died in there, wouldn't they have to wait here for nothing? Lu Ming took the jade talisman and injected a strand of his aura into it. Battle Ancestor, remember, you can only pass if you kill the king of each level. Yuan Huan reminded again. Okay. Lu Ming nodded. He then took a step forward and dashed into the fissure. Hoo! As soon as he rushed into the crack, the ghostly aura was like a gale blowing against Lu Ming's face. Lu Ming covered his body with a layer of divine power and quickly flew down. Not long after, Lu Ming seemed to have passed through a thin film and arrived in a huge underground world. When Lu Ming arrived in this world, the crack on the outside closed up and disappeared. On the ground, a stone tower appeared. This stone tower was only as tall as a person and had a total of 18 levels. At this moment, the top level was shining brightly. This stone tower represented the 18 levels of hell. Whichever level one was on, that level would light up. They had seen it from the outside and roughly knew the situation. Yuan Huan and the others sat cross-legged in the air and waited quietly. They had lived for countless years. Waiting for tens of thousands of years was as simple as eating and drinking to them. They had plenty of patience. Is this the first level of the 18 levels of hell? Lu Ming stood in the air and looked around. Between heaven and earth, everything was gray and boundless. It gave off a depressing feeling and lacked vitality. Every level has a ghost king. Where is the ghost king? Looks like I have to find it myself. Lu Ming pondered, then randomly chose a direction and rushed forward. He did not have enough time. He only had 180 years at most. He could not afford to waste any time. Hoo! Lu Ming had not flown far when there were gusts of sinister wind blowing between heaven and earth. Following that, there were shrill screams. Give me your life. A scream was heard. Then, a black shadow pounced at Lu Ming with shocking speed. Chapter 3172. A black shadow pounced on Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Ana? However, Lu Ming was prepared for it. He dodged the black shadow's attack in a flash and quickly retreated a distance. He then looked at the black shadow and saw its appearance. It was a ferocious-looking ghost. Its eyes were wide open as it stared at Lu Ming. Its mouth was wide open with greed. Eat, eat, eat. I want to eat. Give me your life. The ghost screamed and pounced on Lu Ming. This is the hungry ghost? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. During his time in the Nether 8 Battle Tribe, he had done some homework and had some understanding of the ghosts in the ghastly region. The ghost in front of him was the legendary Hungry Ghost. This Hungry Ghost was only an 8th level heavenly god. It was not worth mentioning to Lu Ming. Lu Ming threw a punch. His fist energy penetrated and killed the Hungry Ghost, turning it into dust. Kill. 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 Give me your life. Just as Lu Ming killed the hungry ghoul, there were sounds of killing coming from all directions. There were at least dozens of hungry ghouls pouncing on Lu Ming. Divine Sun Force. Lu Ming controlled the Divine Sun Force and a layer of flames appeared on the surface of his body. His entire body shone like the sun, shining brightly. These ghosts were most afraid of the extreme Yang Force, such as Saint Force, Flame Force, and Lightning Force. These ghosts were the nemesis of these ghosts. The dozens of hungry ghosts were enveloped by the light on Lu Ming's body. They melted quickly like ice cubes meeting fire. In the blink of an eye, all of them were turned into black smoke and dissipated. After killing these ghosts, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he left this place to look for the Hungry Ghost King on the first level of hell. However, after a few hours, Lu Ming searched a large area and killed a large number of hungry ghosts, he still could not find the hungry Ghost King. The main reason was that the first layer of hell was too big. It was like a small world. It was easier said than done to find a Ghost King. Lu Ming patiently continued his search. 2 days later, Lu Ming arrived in front of a valley. In the valley, ghostly chi soared into the sky, far denser than in other places. Such a dense ghost chi. Is the Ghost King of this level here? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, he rushed straight into the valley. When Lu Ming rushed into the valley, it was as if he had rushed into a hornet's nest. Countless hungry ghosts screamed and rushed towards Lu Ming. They were so densely packed that it was impossible to count how many there were. Sun God Power. Lu Ming circulated his Sun God Power to the extreme, and his entire body turned into a sun. Light shone in all directions, and all the hungry ghosts that were shone on by the sun turned into black smoke. Although there were many hungry ghouls, most of them were 8th-level celestial gods or below. They posed no threat to Lu Ming. Lu Ming easily rushed into the depths of the valley. Then, Lu Ming saw an especially huge hungry ghost rushing towards Lu Ming. Heaven God Layer 9. Lu Ming sensed that this huge hungry ghost had the cultivation of a Heaven God Layer 9. However, it was only equivalent to the most ordinary Heaven God Layer 9. Lu Ming punched out, and a 9-clawed dragon appeared. This 9-clawed dragon was condensed with the Sun God Power as the core. When this 9-clawed dragon pounced on the huge hungry ghost, it was easily torn apart by the 9-clawed dragon. It also turned into black smoke and dissipated. When this huge hungry ghost was killed, the other hungry ghosts screamed and stopped attacking Lu Ming. Instead, they fled backwards. In the blink of an eye, there was not a single one left. At this time, in front of Lu Ming, the space rippled, and a pitch-black vortex appeared. This is the entrance to the next layer of hell. It seems like that huge hungry ghost is the Ghost King of this layer. Lu Ming smiled faintly. As long as he killed the Ghost King of this layer, the entrance to the next layer of hell would automatically appear. Lu Ming took a step forward and stepped into the vortex. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared in another layer of hell. Outside, Yuan Huan, Yuan Song, and the rest were watching. At this moment, the second floor of the stone pagoda that was as tall as a man suddenly lit up and started to shine. The second layer. Someone whispered. No one's expression changed. The first layer of the 18 layers of hell was very simple. The Ghost King's cultivation was only at the Heaven God Layer 9. Killing it was easy. They weren't surprised at all. If Lu Ming couldn't even pass the first layer, they would be surprised. The second layer of hell. When Lu Ming appeared here, he was quickly surrounded. This time, it wasn't the hungry ghost that attacked him, but another kind of ghost, the big head ghost. This kind of ghost had a big head and was incomparably hard. However, their cultivation level was not high. In fact, it was not much different from the first level. Lu Ming easily killed a large number of big head ghosts and then looked for the king of big head ghosts in this hell. This time, Lu Ming's luck wasn't very good. It took him more than 10 days to find the Big Head Ghost King and kill it. Lu Ming discovered that the Big Head Ghost King's cultivation was also at the Heaven God Layer 9. However, it was slightly stronger than the Hungry Ghost King. The Hungry Ghost King's strength was roughly at the Heaven God Layer 9, while the Big Head Ghost King was a Heaven God Layer 9 that controlled Divine Grade God Force. After killing the Big Head Ghost King, the entrance to hell appeared and Lu Ming entered the third layer. The ghosts on the third layer were different from the first 2 layers. They were slightly stronger. Moreover, Lu Ming discovered a problem. The deeper he went, the larger the area of hell would be. Naturally, it would be more difficult to find the Ghost King. Moreover, there were ghosts everywhere. While Lu Ming was searching for the Ghost King, he also had to fight non-stop. This time, Lu Ming spent even more time. It took him a full month and a half to find the Ghost King of the third layer of hell and kill it. At the same time, Lu Ming discovered that the Ghost King of the third layer was also at the Heaven God Layer 9. However, compared to the Ghost King of the second layer, it was a bit stronger. It was equivalent to a Heaven God Layer 9 that had awakened the Origin Divine Power factor. After spending more than 2 months, he passed the third layer. Lu Ming entered the fourth layer. The moment he entered the fourth layer, Lu Ming felt a little different. The cold wind whistled, and the atmosphere became more oppressive. Bang! Suddenly, the ground exploded. A skeleton rushed out, holding a rusty saber, and attacked Lu Ming. A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand, and he shattered this skeleton with a spear. However, the ground cracked open continuously. Skeletons rushed out continuously, charging at Lu Ming. The long spear shook, and hundreds of spear lights burst out in an instant. The hundreds of skeletons were instantly destroyed. Lu Ming executed the Nine Heavens rock technique, and in a flash, he left far away. The fourth layer of hell was a sea of skeletons. The number was shocking. Lu Ming could not be bothered to tangle with these skeletons. He executed the Nine Heavens rock technique with all his might. Like a rock soaring in the nine heavens, he searched for the skeleton king of this layer. However, the area of the fourth layer of hell was much larger than the third layer. Moreover, the skeleton king was hidden underground. It was even more difficult to find. Lu Ming spent a full 3 months before he found the skeleton king. Chapter 3173. The skeleton king of the fourth layer was even stronger than the previous ones. He had reached the half-step divine king realm and was equivalent to a half-step divine king who had grasped the divine grade divine force. WW? However, he was still easily killed by Lu Ming. Then, he entered the fifth layer. The ghost king of the fifth layer was also a half-step divine king, but it was equivalent to a half-step divine king who had awakened the origin divine force factor. Although the ghost king of the sixth layer was also a half-step divine king, it was equivalent to a half-step divine king who had awakened the origin divine force factor twice. Lu Ming used a total of 2 years to pass the first 6 layers. The top 7 layers of the stone pagoda outside shone brightly. This meant that Lu Ming had passed the 6th layer and was now on the 7th layer. Not bad to be able to pass the 6th layer. Someone nodded and praised. Lu Ming was only an 8th layer heavenly god, but the ghost king of the 6th layer was a half-step divine king who had awakened the origin divine force factor twice. Lu Ming being able to pass the 6th layer meant that Lu Ming had killed the ghost king of the 6th layer. With his 8th layer heavenly god cultivation, he was able to jump several levels and kill the ghost king who had awakened the origin divine force factor twice. The difference between the 6th layer and the 9th layer is like heaven and earth. Passing the 6th layer can only mean that you are talented. Only by passing the 9th layer can you be considered a peerless genius who is worthy of the dark ape fighting tribe's allegiance. Yuan Tsung said. The other dark apes kept quiet and continued to wait. When Lu Ming arrived at the 7th level of the 18 levels of hell, he discovered that the ghosts on this level were more powerful on average. Countless ghosts were densely packed, and they charged toward Lu Ming. There were too many of them. If it were anyone else, they would have to spend a lot of energy just to deal with these ghosts. They would not have the energy to search for the Ghost King. It was no wonder that some people had to spend thousands, or even tens of thousands of years to pass the first layer. Those who were not strong enough would have a hard time dealing with these ghosts while searching for the Ghost King. It was normal for them to spend more time. But to Lu Ming, these ghosts were nothing. Lu Ming unleashed his full strength, killing a large number of ghosts. Lu Ming easily broke out of the encirclement. Although a large number of ghosts tried to stop Lu Ming along the way, Lu Ming easily broke through them all. Lu Ming fought these ghosts while searching for the King of Ghosts. Finally, after half a year, Lu Ming found the gathering place of the King of Ghosts. It was a huge cave. Lu Ming charged forward, all the way to the depths of the cave. In the depths of the cave, the temperature plummeted. The temperature was so low that even Lu Ming shivered. These are in building blocks. Lu Ming swept his gaze and discovered a small tree with the thickness of an arm in the cave. However, the terrifyingly low temperature was emitted from this small tree. Ha ha ha, kid, you're rich. In building blocks are a kind of extreme treasure. Like extreme cold treasures, they can also fuse with the energy of the stellar core and speed up my refining of the stellar core. In his sea of consciousness, the quantifying character formula laughed. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He did not expect that there would be such a treasure in the 18 levels of hell. Obviously, this was something that the 18 levels of hell had nurtured over countless years. It was not very useful to ordinary nether apes, but it was very useful to Lu Ming. Then I can only take it. Lu Ming smiled. Roar. At this moment, a loud roar was heard. A terrifying ghost charged toward Lu Ming. The vast pressure of a divine king filled the air. As expected, the Ghost King of the 7th level is equivalent to a divine king. It's a divine king with divine-grade divine power. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. This was not beyond his expectations. With each level, the Ghost King's strength would increase by a notch. A first-layer God King with divine-grade divine power. If it was any other 8th-layer heavenly god, it would be impossible for them to pass. However, it was nothing to Lu Ming. Lu Ming activated the battle character formula to increase his combat strength by 4 times and stabbed out with his spear. The third move of the Armageddon 3 strikes, Supernova, destructive energy surged toward the Ghost King and enveloped it completely. After a few breaths, the Ghost King disappeared completely. With the Ghost King dead, the other ghosts fled without a trace. Then, the gate to the next level of hell appeared. However, Lu Ming was not in a hurry to enter the gate. After all, if he did not enter, the gate would not disappear. Lu Ming walked toward the building block, took out a saber, and cut the building block. Lu Ming did not uproot it. He left the roots so that it would continue to grow in the future. Old Liang, I'll leave it to you. Lu Ming said. Leave it to me. The measure character formula flew out. A ray of light enveloped the building block and swallowed it. Kid, if you can get more of these extreme treasures, my refining speed will increase greatly. At that time, your cultivation speed will also increase greatly. The measure character formula said. Lu Ming's eyes were burning with passion. This was only the 7th level of hell. Lu Ming found that the further down he went, the denser the ghost chi and chi would be. It was very likely that extreme treasures would be born. If the 7th level had such treasures, then what about the 8th level, the 9th level, or even the 10th level? If he could find more extreme treasures, Lu Ming's cultivation speed would definitely increase greatly. Let's go to the 8th level. Lu Ming took a step forward and entered the whirlpool. He arrived at the 8th level. After a period of searching and killing, Lu Ming finally found the Ghost King of the 8th level. The Ghost King of the 8th level was also in the first layer of the King God realm. However, it was equivalent to a first layer of the King God realm who had awakened the origin divine force factor. In the Ghost King's residence, Lu Ming found a building block. Moreover, the chi from it was much denser than the one from before. After Lu Ming killed the ghost, he cut down the building block and let the measure character formula devour it. There really is a building block. Let's go to the 9th level. Lu Ming's eyes were burning with passion. Previously, he wanted to complete the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe's assessment. However, he now had another goal. That was to find building blocks and extreme treasures to refine the energy of the stellar core. After arriving at the 9th level, Lu Ming continued to search for the Ghost King. On the outside, many Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members were shocked. He passed the 8th level. He actually passed the 8th level. He's only in the 8th level of the Heavenly God realm, but he passed the 8th level. Terrifying. His talent is really terrifying. Some of the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members exclaimed. On the 8th level, not to mention the other ghosts, even the Ghost King was in the 1st level of the King God realm. Such strength was already earth-shattering. A peerless genius. The patriarch of the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe, Yuan Huan, muttered. His face was filled with joy. On the other hand, the great elder of the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe remained expressionless. No one could tell what he was thinking. However, the Ghost King on the 9th level is equivalent to a 1st level of the King God realm who has awakened his divine power factor twice. Can he pass it? Someone asked. Chapter 3174. That's very likely. After all, he didn't take long to pass the 8th floor. This means that the ordinary ghosts on the 8th floor can't trap him at all. I'm afraid his strength is much stronger than we thought. That's right. If he can pass the 9th level and complete the test, it might not be a bad thing. At this moment, many of the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe members were hoping that Lu Ming could pass the 9th level. Passing the 9th level was enough to prove Lu Ming's talent. With Lu Ming's talent, The Dark Ape Fighting Tribe might become even stronger in the future if they followed Lu Ming. On the 9th level of the 18 levels of Hell, Lu Ming was besieged by a large number of ghosts. The ghosts on this level were a type of zombie. Their bodies were as hard as iron, and their defense and strength were shocking. They were not afraid of death and were very difficult to kill. Most of them were level 9 heavenly gods, and some were even half-step divine kings. It was not easy to break out of the encirclement when surrounded by a large number of these zombies, let alone find the zombie king. Moreover, killing these zombies consumed a lot of divine power. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming waved his long spear, and the spear light was like a mountain, pressing down on the zombies. The zombies were sent flying like cannonballs and fell to the ground, turning into meat paste. Skypiercer. Finally, Lu Ming became one with his spear and turned into a dazzling spear light. He shot up into the sky and killed a bloody path as he flew into the distance. Roar! On the ground, countless zombies roared and chased after Lu Ming. There are so many zombies. If I continue to be entangled by so many of them, my divine power will be depleted soon. Lu Ming's face finally turned serious. He was not afraid of the zombies' strength as he could easily kill them. However, there were too many of them. If this continued, even if he had a large amount of divine power stored in the quantifying character formula, it would be depleted sooner or later. How could anyone else complete this level of difficulty? There should be a place to rest and recuperate. Lu Ming thought to himself. Without a place to recuperate, Lu Ming did not believe that anyone could complete this level of difficulty unless they were much stronger than him. Lu Ming killed his way through, carving out a path of blood. He randomly chose a direction and flew. After fighting for a few hours, Lu Ming's own divine power was almost exhausted. He could only use the divine power from the quantifying character formula. Not long after, Lu Ming saw a huge stone pillar standing between heaven and earth. The sudden appearance of a stone pillar on the ground was very abrupt. It was definitely not ordinary. Lu Ming's eyes flickered a few times before he flew towards the stone pillar and landed on it. The strange thing was that when Lu Ming landed on the stone pillar, the zombies that were chasing him suddenly stopped. They looked left and right, as if they had lost track of Lu Ming. After wandering around for a while, the zombies all left and disappeared from the ground. They were all gone. It really works. Lu Ming smiled. It seemed that the stone pillars were meant for people to rest and recuperate. Otherwise, not many people would be able to stand up against so many zombies. It was only a matter of time before they ran out of god power. With this kind of resting place, he could calmly recover his divine power and then slowly search for the zombie king. But speaking of which, the difficulty of the 9th floor was much more difficult than the previous floors. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and slowly recovered. Several days later, Lu Ming set off again. However, not long after he left the stone pillar, he was surrounded by a large number of zombies. Lu Ming continued to fight with the zombies. As he fought, he flew. After rushing for a long distance, Lu Ming found another stone pillar. Obviously, there was a stone pillar at every certain distance in the 8th floor of Hell. Lu Ming landed on the stone pillar, and the zombies disappeared without a trace. Just like this, Lu Ming walked and stopped. It took him a total of 3 years to find the location of the zombie king. It was a zombie cave, and there were a large number of zombies living inside. Roar! As soon as Lu Ming arrived at the zombie cave, an angry roar came from the zombie cave. Then, a large zombie army rushed out. The strength of this zombie army was obviously stronger than the zombies scattered in other places. Most of them were half-step divine king zombies, and there were more than 300 of them. The 300 half-step divine king zombies were impenetrable, and their bodies were as tough as divine weapons. They roared and pounced on Lu Ming. After the 300 half-step divine king zombies rushed out, a golden-furred zombie walked out from the zombie cave. This zombie was tall and sturdy, and it was 3 meters tall. It emitted a powerful aura. Zombie King. Lu Ming concluded that this was the zombie king. Before Lu Ming could kill his way into the zombie cave, the zombie king had already led his army out. Roar! Lu Ming shouted, and his body began to expand rapidly, turning into a green-armored ancient god. After turning into a green-armored ancient god, Lu Ming's battle strength skyrocketed, and his huge spear was like a mountain range, smashing towards the zombies. Given Lu Ming's current strength, when he transformed into a green-armored ancient god, his strength was unimaginable. No matter how strong these half-step Divine King zombies were or how strong their defense was, how could they be a match for Lu Ming? Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the zombies exploded and died on the spot. Soon, the 300 half-step Divine King zombies were mostly killed by Lu Ming. Roar! The Zombie King let out an angry roar, and like a golden lightning, it rushed towards Lu Ming. Its long, sharp claws were like blades, and it clawed at Lu Ming, making a terrifying whistling sound. Lu Ming waved his long spear and swept it out to meet the attack. Dang! A violent collision sound was heard, and the long spear vibrated. Lu Ming felt a powerful force rushing towards him, and Lu Ming could not help but take a few steps back. As for the Zombie King, its body also retreated. What shocking power! This Zombie King's strength is probably on par with Yuan Yu's. Lu Ming's heart moved. This Zombie King was equivalent to a first-layer Divine King who had awakened his divine power factor twice, which was similar to Yuan Yu. In addition, the Zombie King was incomparably tough, powerful, and fearless of death, so its overall strength was not weaker than Yuan Yu's. Back then, when Lu Ming was a 7th-layer Divine King, he was not Yuan Yu's opponent without using the Gate of Domination. Now that he had broken through to the 8th-layer Divine King, he could compete. Roar! Seeing that he did not kill Lu Ming in one move, the Zombie King became even more furious and continued to pounce towards Lu Ming, its sharp claws like blades, constantly attacking Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming shouted, and also attacked the Zombie King. Lu Ming did not use the Gate of Domination. The Zombie King was a good opponent to train with, and could be used to train his various secret techniques and divine skills. Lu Ming used the Divine Dragon Aspect technique, the Yin Yang God Eye, and the world-destroying 3 strikes to fight with the Zombie King. Although Lu Ming had many methods, after dozens of moves, Lu Ming was actually at a disadvantage. Lu Ming still did not use the Gate of Domination and continued to fight with the Zombie King. Chapter 3175. Lu Ming and the Zombie King fought for more than 200 moves. Although Lu Ming was slightly at a disadvantage, it was not that easy for the Zombie King to defeat him. My world-destroying 3 strikes is about to break through. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Lu Ming had broken through to the 8th level of the world-destroying 3 strikes a long time ago and had been stuck at the peak of the 8th level. Now that he had fought with the Zombie King, he finally felt that the world-destroying 3 strikes was about to break through. At this time, Lu Ming would not use the Ruler's Gate. He would only use the world-destroying 3 strikes to fight with the Zombie King. Sky-piercing, moon-slashing, star-shattering. Lu Ming used the world-destroying 3 strikes in turn, constantly clashing with the Zombie King. Swish! Suddenly, just as Lu Ming used the move moon-slashing, an even brighter crescent-shaped spear light burst out and slashed towards the Zombie King. This time, the power of the moon-slashing strike was clearly a notch stronger than before. Breakthrough! The world-destroying 3 strikes had broken through to the 9th level. This was also the highest level of the world-destroying 3 strikes. Breaking through to the 9th level allowed the power of the world-destroying 3 strikes to increase by another level. Boom! The crescent-shaped spear light collided with the Zombie King's sharp claws once again. This time, Lu Ming and the Zombie King both retreated. This time, they were evenly matched. Lu Ming revealed a happy expression. In other words, he did not need to rely on the Ruler's Gate to fight with Yuan Yu. It's about time. Lu Ming's mouth curled into a smile. After breaking through the world-destroying 3 strikes, Lu Ming was already satisfied. It was time to kill the Zombie King. Ruler's Gate, come out, Lu Ming whispered as the Ruler's Gate appeared above his head. Boom! The Ruler's Gate shook and then suppressed the Zombie King. The Ruler's Gate was extremely powerful and its power was incomparably terrifying. The Zombie King tried his best to block, but he was still sent flying and smashed into a huge mountain. Kill! Lu Ming continued to control the Sovereign's Gate to suppress the Zombie King. The Zombie King rushed out of the rubble and faced the bombardment of the Gate of Dominion. The Zombie King's body was once again blasted to the ground. Faced with the attack of the Gate of Domination, the Zombie King had no way to retaliate. After more than 10 consecutive attacks, even with the Zombie King's defensive power, he couldn't withstand it and his body exploded. Ninth floor, cleared. In front of him, a pitch-black vortex appeared. Clearly, this was the door to the 10th level. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and decided not to enter the whirlpool. Instead, he wanted to walk into the zombie cave. The Zombie King's lair had not been plundered yet, so how could he leave so easily? Sure enough, in the Zombie King's lair, Lu Ming found another building block. Moreover, the chi of this building wood was much denser than the previous two. Lu Ming was overjoyed as he cut down the building block and fed it to the measuring character formula. Then, Lu Ming walked out of the zombie cave and arrived at the door to the 10th level. This time, Lu Ming did not hesitate and stepped through the door to the 10th level. Passing the 9th level meant that he had passed the test this time. However, Lu Ming did not want it to end like this. He wanted to keep going down and see how many levels he could pass in the end. The more levels he passed, the stronger his talent would be. Wouldn't the Dark Ape Battle Tribe be more convinced and loyal to him? Also, Lu Ming wanted to obtain more treasures. The 18 levels of hell were simply a treasure trove for Lu Ming. From the 7th level onwards, every level had treasures that were of great help to Lu Ming in refining the energy of the stellar core. Moreover, the ghosts here were also good targets for tempering. Through constant fighting, Lu Ming's understanding of various divine skills, secret techniques, and even various divine powers would greatly increase. Anyway, he still had plenty of time. Cultivating here would definitely be faster than cultivating back at the Starry Camp. It would be better to cultivate here, killing many birds with one stone. Why would he want to go out? Outside, a large number of Dark Ape Battle Tribe elites were staring at the stone pagoda. Suddenly, the 9th level of the stone pagoda shone with a dazzling light. After a breath, the light dimmed a little. After each level's King of Ghosts was killed, the corresponding level of the stone pagoda would shine a few times. When the 9th level shone, the hearts of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe members began to beat faster. He passed the 9th level. I didn't expect him to pass the 9th level. It's a miracle. It's really a miracle. Great. An 8th level heavenly god has passed the 9th level. He's a peerless genius and is qualified to be the new war progenitor of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe. I have no objections to this person becoming the new war progenitor. The scene was noisy as all the Dark Ape Battle Tribe members discussed spiritedly. Seeing that Lu Ming had passed the 9th level, almost all of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe members agreed that Lu Ming was the new war progenitor. Even Yuan Song, who had been strongly against it, smiled. On the other hand, Yuan Huan was ecstatic. As expected of the person chosen by war progenitor Startled Feather, his talent is amazing, Yuan Huan exclaimed. All of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe members were waiting for Lu Ming to come out and support Lu Ming as the new war progenitor. However, no matter how long they waited, Lu Ming did not come out. Why hasn't the war progenitor come out yet? Someone was puzzled. Suddenly, someone screamed, "Look, the 10th level is shining. The war progenitor has gone to the 10th level." What? The other Dark Ape Battle Tribe members were shocked. They quickly looked at the stone pagoda and saw that the 10th level was shining. This meant that Lu Ming had reached the 10th level. He actually reached the 10th level? Is he going to challenge the deeper levels of hell? Amazing! As expected of the war progenitor. Many Dark Apes could not help but exclaim. How many levels do you think the war progenitor can pass? It's hard to say. I think the war progenitor can pass the 11th level, but I don't think he can pass the 12th level. Not necessarily. After the 9th level, every level has a different difficulty. Maybe the war progenitor can't even pass the 10th level? That's very possible. You should know that the 10th level is different from the previous 9 levels. Let's wait and see. The remaining Dark Ape Battle Tribe members, including Yuan Huan and Yuan Song, were curious. They stared at the stone pagoda, wondering how many levels Lu Ming could pass. Lu Ming did not know that his appearance on the 10th level would attract so many thoughts from the Dark Ape Battle Tribe. He was looking curiously at a ghost in front of him. It was a black-clothed swordsman, a headless black-clothed swordsman. Lu Ming saw the black-clothed swordsman as soon as he appeared on the 10th level. Kong. Sword gleams surged and the black sword was unsheathed, slashing toward Lu Ming. Half-step Divine King Realm. Lu Ming had just arrived on the 10th level, and the first ghost he encountered was already a half-step Divine King Realm. It was obvious that the 10th level was not to be underestimated. Lu Ming waved his long spear and swept it across the black-clothed swordsman's sword. Chapter 3176. Lu Ming's spear destroyed the black-clothed swordsman's swordlight. But in the next moment, Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. W? He felt a strange energy from the black-clothed swordsman's swordlight. It followed Lu Ming's spear and directly rushed into Lu Ming's body. It surged towards his sea of consciousness and bombarded Lu Ming's soul. Lu Ming's soul trembled slightly as he felt a slight stabbing pain. Soul attack. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. This headless black-clothed swordsman could actually launch a soul attack. However, Lu Ming had obtained a lot of demonic night spring water back then. Over the years, he had already refined all of the demonic night spring water. His soul had also been tempered and was much stronger than cultivators of the same level. That move just now did not cause any substantial damage to Lu Ming, but it was enough to surprise Lu Ming. Soul attacks had always been extremely special. The reason why the people from the Nine Nether Heavenly King residents were terrifying was that they could use soul attacks. Often, it could greatly affect one's condition, and one would not be able to use 50% of one's strength. Clang. The sound of the sword rang out again. The headless black-clothed swordsman attacked Lu Ming again. At the same time, the sound of a sword rang out behind Lu Ming. Unknowingly, 5 black-clothed knights appeared behind Lu Ming. There were a total of 7 of them, and they attacked Lu Ming at the same time. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The black sword light formed a net of sword chi and attacked Lu Ming. Wong. Lu Ming shook his long spear and swept it out, extinguishing all the sword gleams. However, there was a strange energy in each sword light that rushed towards Lu Ming, attacking Lu Ming's soul. However, Lu Ming had the Jingyu painting. With a thought, the Jingyu painting surrounded Lu Ming's soul. When those attacks landed on the frightening feather painting, they were all blocked. Soul attacks were ineffective against Lu Ming. Lu Ming's spear swept out in all directions, crushing all of the headless black-robed swordsmen. However, after the headless swordsman's body exploded, it turned into black smoke and reformed not far away. Kill. At this time, fierce battle cries resounded. Not far away, several black lights soared into the sky from several mountains, and several black shadows rushed towards Lu Ming. These shadows were not headless swordsmen in black. Instead, they were ghosts wearing black armor and wielding giant swords. These ghosts were extremely fast. Their huge swords pierced through the air and slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming blocked with his spear. Clang, clang. Lu Ming's long spear trembled as the giant sword chopped down on the long spear. The several black-armored swordsmen were shaken and sent flying. Pure power, interesting. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He felt that these black-armored swordsmen were extremely powerful, surpassing the headless swordsmen in black. However, they did not have the ability of soul. The 10th floor was indeed different. Whoosh, whoosh. Golden light pierced through the air. The headless swordsman and black-armored swordsman attacked Lu Ming at the same time. Their sword net was like silk, enveloping Lu Ming. Die! Lu Ming muttered. The divine power in his body surged crazily. His long spear trembled and streaks of spear light pierced out like meteors. Pong, pong, pong. The headless swordsman and black-armored swordsman all collapsed. This time, the headless swordsmen were unable to reform their bodies. As long as one's power was strong enough, they could completely destroy the headless swordsmen, making it difficult for them to reform. After defeating these headless swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen, Lu Ming's figure flashed and left this place. However, the 10th floor was filled with swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen. Lu Ming was besieged. Lu Ming killed his way through. Fortunately, this floor was the same as the 9th floor. There was a stone pillar at regular intervals. As soon as he stepped on the stone pillar, the swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen scattered as if they could not see Lu Ming. Lu Ming rested for a while before continuing to search for the 10th floor's king. The 10th floor's territory was even larger. Lu Ming went around in circles, fighting ghosts and honing various divine skills and secret arts while searching for the Ghost King. After 9 rounds of exploration, Lu Ming had some experience. Wherever the Ghost King was, there would be the most Ghost Kings. Lu Ming specifically went to the place with the most ghosts. This time, Lu Ming found the Ghost King's location in just over a year. Kill! Battle cries shook the sky. A large number of headless swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen had gathered on a mountain peak. At the peak of the mountain, there was a headless swordsman riding on a headless warhorse. His aura was threatening. Ghost King! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This headless swordsman riding on a warhorse was definitely the Ghost King of this floor. His aura was at the Divine King realm. The Ghost King roared, and thousands of headless swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen charged towards Lu Ming. Thousands of half-step Divine King realm experts. Moreover, there were headless swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen who could attack souls. Their combined strength was terrifying. Even if ordinary sky prides could pass the 9th floor and reach the 10th floor, they would be at a disadvantage when faced with such soul attacks. If they were not careful, they would be defeated. However, soul attacks were ineffective against Lu Ming. Therefore, it was not difficult for Lu Ming this time. Lu Ming turned into a green-armored ancient god and charged into the group of black-armored swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen. Lu Ming did not set up any defense against the attacks of the black-armored swordsmen. He waved his spear, and wherever he passed, the black-armored swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen would explode. Soon, Lu Ming killed his way through and charged towards the Ghost King. Kill! A loud roar was heard. The headless swordsman Ghost King had no head. His voice came from nowhere. Then, his warhorse galloped in the air and waved his battle sword, charging towards Lu Ming. Clang! The two exchanged a blow. Lu Ming's figure retreated slightly. First Divine King realm, but he has soul attacks. After exchanging a blow, Lu Ming had a rough idea of the strength of the headless swordsman riding on a warhorse. This Ghost King's strength was equivalent to an existence that had awakened the second godly power factor. It was similar to the golden-haired zombie king on the 9th floor. However, this Ghost King had soul attacks and was obviously more difficult to deal with than the zombie king. For other sky prides, the difficulty of the 10th floor might be several times higher than the 9th floor. However, for Lu Ming, the difficulty of the 10th floor was even lower than the 9th floor. The frightening feather painting blocked the soul attack. The soul attack did not affect him at all. Lu Ming held his spear and charged towards the Ghost King. After losing his trump card, the Ghost King's strength was not even comparable to the Zombie King. Lu Ming did not even need to use the Dominator's Gate to suppress him. Roar, roar, roar. Dragon roars shook the sky. 9-clawed dragon appeared one after another and pounced towards the Ghost King. At the same time, the ice chains were like long snakes that coiled towards the Ghost King. Lu Ming used the world-extinguishing 3 strikes and attacked the Ghost King. The two fought fiercely. After dozens of blows, Lu Ming began to gain the upper hand and forced the Ghost King to retreat. P.S. Readers, I am the Shepherd Boy Ting Zhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, 0 ads, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3177. Roar. Suddenly, a few more 9-clawed dragons appeared above Lu Ming's head. Ana? Calm? During the battle, the Divine Dragon aspect art had a breakthrough and formed a few more dragons. In that case, Lu Ming could condense a total of 25 9-clawed Divine Dragons by condensing the Divine Dragon aspect art with all his might. With so many 9-clawed dragons attacking together, the power was extremely shocking as they crazily pounced on the Ghost King. Bam! The remaining warhorse of the headless black-clothed swordsman Ghost King was hit, and one of its legs exploded. Moon slashing. Lu Ming seized the opportunity and struck the Ghost King with his spear, splitting its body into 2 halves. However, the Ghost King's body retreated, and the 2 halves of its body condensed once again. Exploding star. Lu Ming didn't give the other party a chance to reform. He used the exploding star, and the destructive power enveloped the other party. At the same time, an ancient door appeared above Lu Ming's head. It was the Gate of Domination. The exploding star and the Gate of Domination bombarded down at the same time. The Ghost King let out a blood-curdling scream as his body exploded, never to recover again. With the death of the Ghost King, the other black-clothed swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen all dispersed. Are there any extreme treasures? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with anticipation as he walked towards the peak of the mountain. At the peak of the mountain, there were 2 trees that were filled with dense yin qi, which attracted Lu Ming's attention. In building blocks, there really are 2 of them. Lu Ming was ecstatic. The yin qi of these 2 yin building blocks was very dense. Each of them was about the same as the one on the 9th floor. As expected of the 10th floor of the 18 levels of hell, it was extraordinary. Without hesitation, Lu Ming took out his saber and cut off the 2 yin building blocks. Then, he let the measure formula devour them. After collecting the yin building blocks, Lu Ming took a step forward and walked toward the door of the 11th level. He then arrived at the 11th level. The 11th and 10th levels were very similar. The ghosts were also black-robed swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen, but they were slightly stronger. For Lu Ming, it was not difficult at all. After spending some time, Lu Ming found the Ghost King of this floor. The Ghost King of the 11th floor was also a black-clothed swordsman riding a warhorse. The only difference between this floor and the 10th floor was that the number of subordinates of this Ghost King was even greater, reaching 3,000. Among the 3,000 black-clothed and black-armored swordsmen, there was a first sky of King God Realm Warrior. They formed a great formation and attacked Lu Ming. With so many powerful specters forming a spell formation, the difficulty of dealing with them increased dramatically. Even Lu Ming had no choice but to take them seriously. He even resorted to using the Sovereign's Gate. After fighting for a while, the Ghost King charged in and worked with the ghostly army to attack Lu Ming. This Ghost King's strength was about the same as the one on the 10th floor. The main difficulty was that its subordinates knew how to use tactics. After fighting for a full hour, Lu Ming finally killed the Ghost King and passed the 11th floor. On this floor, Lu Ming also obtained 2 yin building blocks. 12th floor. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He didn't stop and entered the 12th floor. The Dark Ape Battle Tribe members outside were even more shocked. He entered the 12th floor. The Battle Ancestor entered the 12th floor. Amazing! Amazing! Many members of the Nether Ape Fighting Tribe gasped in amazement. Unknowingly, they had even changed the way they addressed Lu Ming. They now addressed him as Combat Ancestor. Clearly, they had completely acknowledged Lu Ming in their hearts. Lu Ming arrived at the 12th floor and discovered that it was different from the 11th floor. Apart from the black-clothed swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen, there were other specters, such as zombies and skeletons. The specters that appeared in the previous floors were all here. The specters' strength was astonishing. Most of them were half-step god kings, and the weakest was a 9th-level heaven god. Occasionally, there were even god king realm specters. Lu Ming killed his way through. Finally, Lu Ming found a specter army camp. That's right, it really was an army camp of ghosts. Roar! With a loud roar, a headless black-clothed swordsman rode out of the camp, leading the specter army. It's him again. Looks like he's the Ghost King here. Lu Ming smiled. Then, he charged over. Just like the 11th floor, the Ghost Kings here would also form a large formation to fight Lu Ming. At the same time, the Ghost Kings would also join the Spectre army to fight Lu Ming. The strength of the Ghost Kings here was similar to the Ghost Kings on the 11th and 10th floors. The main reason was that the Spectre army was difficult to deal with. Roar! While they were fighting fiercely, a loud roar came from another direction. Then, another Spectre army appeared. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Wasn't there already an Spectre army here? Why was there another one? Rumble. The ground shook as the Spectre army charged toward Lu Ming. This was an army made up entirely of zombies. The leader was a golden-furred zombie king. Nestle, it seems that there's more than one Spectre king on this floor. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Yuan Huan and the others only said that he had to kill the Spectre king on each floor to pass, but they didn't say that there was only one Spectre King on each floor. The two armies besieged Lu Ming. At the same time, the Zombie King also charged toward Lu Ming. In this way, the pressure on Lu Ming multiplied. He used all his strength and all kinds of methods. The Gate of Domination was the main attack, and other attacks were constantly attacking the Spectres and the two Spectre Kings in all directions. Fortunately, Lu Ming was immune to soul attacks. If it were any other prodigy, even if they had Lu Ming's combat strength, they wouldn't be able to hold on and would have been defeated long ago. Battle Formula: Quintuple Combat Strength. During the battle, Lu Ming used all his strength to activate the battle formula to quintuple his combat strength. Lu Ming's chances of activating the battle formula quintuple combat strength was only 1 in 10, but under Lu Ming's continuous activation, he finally succeeded. In an instant, Lu Ming's strength increased, and he felt his muscles bulging. He had an inexhaustible amount of energy. What power! My divine body almost couldn't hold on. Lu Ming thought. This was only the first time he had activated the battle formula quintuple combat strength. He immediately realized that quintupling combat strength put a huge burden on his divine body. With his current divine body, he could barely hold on. Fortunately, he had the heart of the ancient god, which was constantly tempering his divine body, allowing it to slowly evolve into an ancient god. Otherwise, even if he comprehended the battle formula quintuple combat strength, he wouldn't be able to use it. After activating the battle formula quintuple combat strength, Lu Ming's strength also increased sharply. The battle formula and the Gate of Domination's power were even more terrifying. Boom! The Gate of Domination pressed down and bombarded the Zombie King's body. The Zombie King roared as its incomparably hard body was torn apart. It was killed in one move. At the same time, Lu Ming swept out with his spear, sending the black-clothed swordsman king flying. At the same time, he killed hundreds of black-clothed swordsmen and black-armored swordsmen. P.S. Readers, I'm Shepherd Boy Ting Zhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, zero ads, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3178. After activating the battle character art, Lu Ming's strength skyrocketed. He was now completely above the Zombie King and the headless black-clothed swordsman king. The Gate of Domination killed the Zombie King in one move, and Lu Ming sent the black-clothed swordsman king flying with his spear. Then, Lu Ming rushed toward the black-clothed swordsman king, and the Gate of Domination suppressed it. Boom! The black-clothed swordsman king followed in the footsteps of the Zombie King and was blasted into pieces. However, the black-clothed swordsman king's vitality was even more tenacious. Its body wanted to reform, but how could Lu Ming give it the chance? The Gate of Domination suppressed it again, and the black-clothed swordsman king was completely killed. With the death of the two ghost kings, the rest of the ghosts fled without a trace. Huff huff! Lu Ming gasped for breath and hurriedly removed the 5 times battle strength state. Then, his body shrunk and returned to normal. At the same time, he also put away the Gate of Domination. Lu Ming's killing moves all had high requirements on his body. The azure-armored ancient god used it for a long time, and the battle character art's 5 times battle strength had a high burden on the divine body. As for the Gate of Domination, it also consumed an astonishing amount of divine power. After putting it all away, Lu Ming felt weak. Fortunately, with the death of the Ghost Kings, the other ghosts all fled. In front of him, a pitch-black vortex appeared. Lu Ming ignored it and sat cross-legged, circulating his energy to adjust his breathing. After a while, Lu Ming recovered to his peak. Then, Lu Ming walked toward the army camp. In the army camp, Lu Ming also found 2 building blocks. There are 2 Ghost Kings here. The Zombie King should also have building blocks. Lu Ming's heart moved. He didn't step into the pitch-black vortex to enter the 13th floor. Instead, he searched everywhere. Strangely enough, after the 2 Ghost Kings were killed by Lu Ming, the ghosts on this floor fled as soon as they saw Lu Ming. They didn't dare to fight with Lu Ming. Lu Ming's journey was unimpeded, and not long after, he found another military camp. Naturally, it was the Zombie King's military camp. In the Zombie King's camp, Lu Ming also found 2 building blocks. Ha ha ha, with so many building blocks, we can refine a lot of energy. Lu Ming was delighted. I wonder what the ghosts on the 13th floor are like. Let's continue. Lu Ming smiled and returned to the door leading to the 13th floor. He stepped through the door and arrived at the 13th floor. Outside, he's in. The battle ancestor has entered the 13th floor. The battle ancestor actually passed through the 12th floor and entered the 13th floor. He's only an 8th layer celestial god. Too shocking. All the Dark Ape Battle Tribe elites were shocked beyond words. An 8th layer celestial god had reached the 13th floor. This had never happened before in the history of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe. Although the most difficult part of each floor was the Ghost Kings, the most difficult part of the 11th and 12th floors was the army of ordinary ghosts. They knew very well how difficult it was to coordinate with each other. The 13th floor, there were more types of ghosts on this floor. Lu Ming had only been in here for an hour, and he had already found 7 or 8 types of ghosts, all of which were stronger. Among the ghosts that Lu Ming had encountered, the lowest cultivation level was at the half-step Divine King realm. Moreover, the first heaven of the Divine King realm was also common. While fighting, he also searched for the Ghost Kings. This could be considered a good way to cultivate. Lu Ming's divine skills and secret techniques were constantly improving. Even his understanding of other divine-grade divine powers was slowly improving. In this way, Lu Ming fought for 3 years on the 13th floor and finally found the Ghost King. The Ghost King on the 13th floor had reached the 2nd layer King God realm. However, this Ghost King had not awakened its divine-grade divine power factor, so its strength was limited. The main difficulty was the army of ghosts under the Ghost King. In this army of ghosts, the number of King God realm cultivators had increased dramatically. There were more than 100 of them. The overall difficulty was slightly higher than the 12th floor. In the end, Lu Ming activated the battle character formula to increase his fighting strength by 5 times and used the Dominator's Stone Gate. After a fierce battle, he finally killed the Ghost King on this floor. On this floor, Lu Ming did not discover any building blocks. Instead, he discovered a piece of black crystal. This piece of crystal was also an extreme treasure. In fact, it was even more useful than the building blocks. After the measure character formula swallowed the crystal, Lu Ming went to the 14th floor. On this floor, Lu Ming finally met with failure. The ordinary ghosts on this floor were all terrifyingly strong. Lu Ming finally found the Ghost King on this floor. He found that the Ghost King on this floor was in the 2nd layer King God realm, but it had awakened its divine-grade divine power factor. In the King God realm, the gap between each layer was huge, especially for those who had awakened their divine-grade divine power factor or had awakened it multiple times. The gap between each layer was even bigger. On this floor, the Ghost King and its army of ghosts worked together to defeat Lu Ming. Lu Ming coughed up blood and retreated. He was severely injured. Lu Ming retreated and successfully went to a stone pillar. All the ghosts retreated. Lu Ming sat down cross-legged. After a few days, his injuries were completely healed. However, Lu Ming did not leave the 18th floor of hell just yet. After all, there was still a long time before the opening of the Great Void Imperial Academy. Lu Ming planned to cultivate here for a while. After recovering to his peak condition, Lu Ming attacked the Ghost King again. Naturally, another fierce battle ensued. In the end, Lu Ming retreated with injuries. After Lu Ming recovered, he attacked again. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming had been on the 14th level for 10 years. After 10 years of fierce fighting, each time a battle of life and death, Lu Ming improved greatly in all aspects. First, several divine skills, such as the 9 Heavens Garuda art and the 9-fold Crimson Gold armor, broke through to the 9th layer. In this way, Lu Ming cultivated the Armageddon 3 strikes and the 9-fold Crimson Gold armor to the highest level. Lu Ming also began to cultivate the War God strike that he had obtained from Chu Baxing. In addition, his understanding of the other kinds of divine powers had also improved greatly. Many divine-grade divine powers had awakened to 50 or 60%. Lu Ming focused on cultivating the Overlord Spear Force. Therefore, the Overlord Spear Force had improved the most. After so many years, Lu Ming had been comprehending it. Now, he had reached 99%. He was only one step away from fully awakening it. Of course, this step was extremely difficult. After 10 years, the quantum character formula finally refined a powerful energy under the effect of the extreme Yin treasure. Now, it was being transferred to Lu Ming to help Lu Ming break through to the ninth layer of the celestial god realm. On a stone pillar, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. His aura was surging. Now, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th layer of the celestial god realm, and he was about to break through to the 9th layer. Rumble. Divine power circulated in his body, producing loud rumbling sounds. 3 days later, a powerful aura exploded from Lu Ming's body. He had broken through to the 9th layer of the celestial god realm. Chapter 3179. Lu Ming had finally broken through to the 9th layer of the heavenly god realm. The ultimate Yin treasure is really useful. Otherwise, even with the energy of the stellar core, I would need at least a few hundred years to break through to the 9th layer of the heavenly god realm. Lu Ming thought to himself. He was eager to get more ultimate Yin treasures. Kill. Lu Ming stood up and murmured. Then, he charged toward the ghost kings on this floor. Not long after, the battle began. However, now that Lu Ming had broken through to the 9th layer of the heavenly god realm and awakened various divine-grade divine force, his overall battle strength had skyrocketed. In addition, Lu Ming had activated the battle character formula to increase his battle strength by 5 times and used the Gate of Domination. Finally, he defeated the Ghost King army and killed the Ghost King on this floor. On this floor, Lu Ming obtained 2 crystals with ultimate Yin Qi. After the measure character formula swallowed the crystals, Lu Ming entered the 15th floor. Outside, the Dark Ape fighting tribe members who saw this scene were already numb. It was already a miracle that Lu Ming could come this far. Now, they wanted to see what other miracles Lu Ming could create. The ghosts on the 15th floor were undoubtedly stronger, especially the Ghost Kings. They were in the 2nd layer of the King God realm, but their divine origin factor had awakened twice. Lu Ming was no match for them. After all, the difference between each layer of the heavenly God realm was not as great as the King God realm. Although his cultivation had increased by 1 layer, the increase was not as great as the King God realm. It was not as great as awakening the divine origin factor. In this battle, Lu Ming was injured. After a fierce battle, Lu Ming broke through the encirclement. If I want to defeat this Ghost King, I will have to make another breakthrough in my cultivation or awaken the divine origin factor with more divine origin factors. Lu Ming analyzed his situation. Along the way, the quantum formula absorbed a lot of Yin building blocks and a few pieces of those crystals. It fused with a part of the energy of the star core for Lu Ming to absorb. However, the Yin treasure was not completely refined. There was still some left that was constantly neutralizing the energy of the star core. However, to break through to the half-step divine king realm, he needed a lot more energy. It wasn't easy to break through in a short time. Furthermore, the comprehension of divine power was not something that could be achieved overnight. Lu Ming had already made plans for long-term cultivation. Let's continue. After Lu Ming recovered to his peak, he charged towards the Ghost King. After a great battle, Lu Ming retreated. In the following days, Lu Ming wholeheartedly focused on cultivating, tempering himself, and fighting. Time passed day by day, year by year, in the process of cultivation. In the blink of an eye, 120 years had passed since Lu Ming entered the 18 layers of hell. In total, it had been 120 years. There were less than 60 years left before the Great Void Imperial family's holy court opened. On this day, Lu Ming, who was sitting cross-legged on a stone pillar, suddenly opened his eyes. His body was emitting a strong, ancient aura. The Overlord's spear force has finally awakened its divine power origin factor. Lu Ming smiled. After so many years of cultivation, the Overlord's spear force had finally awakened its divine power origin factor. In this way, Lu Ming had a total of 3 types of divine power that had awakened their divine power origin factor. They were the Sovereign's God Force, the Undying Sword Force, and the Overlord's Spear Force. Lu Ming controlled a total of 8 divine-grade divine powers, 1 saint-grade divine power, and 1 king-grade divine power. In addition to these 3 divine powers, The other 5 divine grade divine powers had all awakened 99%. For more than 100 years, Lu Ming had spent it in constant fighting. During the fighting, he had to constantly circulate his divine power. Therefore, his comprehension and utilization of divine power had improved very quickly. Therefore, Lu Ming could reach this level in 100 years. Whoosh! A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The long spear trembled and pierced forward. A ray of spear radiance burst forth and flew a few thousand miles in an instant, piercing through a divine king realm zombie. After the Overlord's spear force awakened, the power of the long spear has increased by a lot. Lu Ming smiled. Using a long spear was the most compatible with the Overlord's spear force. The power of the long spear could be unleashed better. Moreover, Lu Ming had not only improved his various divine powers in the past 100 years. For example, there were various secret techniques and divine skills. Firstly, the divine dragon aspect art had improved greatly. Now, Lu Ming could condense 36 nine-clawed dragons in one go. Moreover, Lu Ming's newly cultivated War God Strike had been cultivated to the peak of the 8th level. As long as Lu Ming broke through to the 9th level, its power would be comparable to the world-extinguishing 3 strikes. Most importantly, Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through again, reaching the half-step God King realm. In his body, the 10 divine flames had disappeared and were replaced by 10 divine power vortexes. The divine power of the 10 divine power vortexes had been condensed to the extreme. As long as the 10 divine power vortexes were completely crystallized and turned into star cores, he would officially enter the God King realm. Of course, this step was extremely difficult. Countless cultivators were stuck at this step, unable to advance further. After reaching the half-step God King realm, Lu Ming's strength had improved greatly. It could be said that his strength had reached the peak. However, Lu Ming was still not satisfied. He could still advance further because he had the divine power source bead in his hand. Lu Ming planned to use the divine power source bead on the Overlord Spear Force to awaken the origin secret technique from the Overlord Spear Force. With a thought, the divine power source bead appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming swallowed the divine power source bead into his mouth. The moment the divine power source bead entered Lu Ming's mouth, under Lu Ming's control, it flew towards Lu Ming's dantian and merged with the Overlord Spear Force's divine power vortexes. In an instant, the divine power source bead dissolved, turning into a strange energy that completely merged with the Overlord Spear Force. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to have entered a special state. From the Overlord Spear Force, he saw a shocking scene. A long spear pierced through the universe's starry sky. Wherever the long spear passed, stars exploded, and a terrifying crack was torn in the universe's starry sky. The experts that blocked the long spear were pierced through one by one and killed. Powerful, terrifying, and incomparably domineering. Lu Ming seemed to be able to touch this long spear. Lu Ming knew that this was the Overlord Spear Force's origin secret technique. Lu Ming's attention was highly focused as he quietly comprehended the experience at this moment. Time passed quickly, and more than 10 days passed. Overlord Spear. Suddenly, Lu Ming let out a low roar. Then, his right hand grasped the void, and a long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. This seemed to be a stone spear, and it was filled with an ancient and desolate aura. It was filled with the traces of time, as if it had crossed countless years. This spear was exactly the same as the long spear that Lu Ming had seen earlier that had traversed the universe. Origin Secret Technique. This was the Overlord Spear Force's origin secret technique. Kill. Lu Ming let out a low roar and stabbed forward with his spear. Chapter 3180. Lu Ming held the Overlord God's spear and thrust it forward. A terrifying spear light appeared between heaven and earth, thrusting forward. Bam, bam, bam. All the ghosts within 10,000 miles of the Overlord God's spear, regardless of their cultivation level, exploded and turned into ashes. In an instant, a 10,000-mile-long gap appeared between heaven and earth. Amazing! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The power of the Overlord God's spear was no weaker than the Gate of Gods. However, one should not forget that Lu Ming's divine skill was a long spear-type divine skill. If Lu Ming used the Overlord God Spear and used the divine skill, its power would be even stronger than the Gate of Gods. Then, let's pass this floor. Lu Ming was full of pride, revealing a confident expression. Swoosh! He leaped into the air and charged toward the ghostly creatures on this floor. When he arrived at the area of Ghost Kings, a large army of ghosts rushed toward Lu Ming. Ghost Chi covered the sky and earth, pressing toward Lu Ming. At least half of this army of Ghost Kings were experts in the first heaven of the King God realm. Among them, there were even existences who had awakened their origin divine power. Lu Ming even saw the golden-haired zombie king and the headless swordsman king from the previous floors. These existences were only generals here, not kings. Therefore, Lu Ming couldn't pass this floor. The strength of this army of ghosts was shocking. Divine dragon aspect, kill. Lu Ming let out a long howl and punched out with both fists. In the sky, numerous nine-clawed divine dragons appeared. There was a total of 36 nine-clawed divine dragons, and they charged toward the ghost army. Given Lu Ming's half-step divine king cultivation, the prowess of the divine dragon aspect technique was naturally different from before. It was much stronger. Boom, boom. 36 nine-clawed dragons rushed forward, entangling a large number of ghosts. Lu Ming moved and charged toward the depths of the army of ghosts. Before he killed his way here, Lu Ming had already triggered the quintuple combat ability. His combat ability was at its peak. Boom. With a sweep of his spear, he hit a golden-haired zombie king. The zombie king with golden hair was the king of the first few floors. He had the first sky of King God Realm cultivation base and had awakened the God Original twice. He was as strong as Yuan Yu that year. However, when the spear swept past, the zombie king was unable to block it at all. Its body was blasted away like a cannonball. After killing hundreds of ghosts, its own body also exploded. One move, instant kill. Roar. At this moment, a heaven-shaking roar came from the depths of the army, and a huge monster appeared. At this moment, a bone dragon that was 10,000 meters long appeared. It was the Ghost King of this level. His cultivation base was in the second King God realm, and his God Force factor had awakened twice. The skeletal dragon twisted its body and charged towards Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was not afraid of the bone dragon silk. His palm glowed, and an ancient stone spear appeared. It was Lu Ming's other origin secret technique, the Tyrant God Spear. Moon slaying. Lu Ming shouted, and the Tyrant God Spear slashed towards the bone dragon. The bone dragon roared, and a sharp claw reached out, grabbing at Lu Ming. Boom! The spear light and the dragon's claw collided. The dragon's claw was covered with the awakened God Original God Force factor, but it still could not block the spear light's attack. At the moment of impact, the dragon's claw shook violently and then exploded, turning into bone fragments that scattered in all directions. One of the bone dragon's huge dragon claws exploded. The Tyrant God Spear's power was even more terrifying than a divine weapon. It was easy to use, and it increased the power of Lu Ming's divine skill by 20%. Swoosh! Lu Ming swung his hand, and the Tyrant God Spear flew across the void, aiming at the bone dragon's head. The bone dragon roared, desperately trying to block. However, Lu Ming, who used the combination of the Tyrant God Spear and divine skill, his strength was simply explosive, and had completely surpassed the bone dragon. Although the bone dragon tried its best to block, it could only take a beating. Under Lu Ming's attack, the bone dragon retreated again and again, and its body was constantly hit by Lu Ming. Every time it was hit, a large piece of the bones on the bone dragon's body would explode. After more than 10 moves, Lu Ming finally struck the bone dragon's head with his spear. The bone dragon's head exploded, and it was completely killed by Lu Ming. After the bone dragon was killed, the other ghosts ran away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. 15th floor, passed. On this floor, Lu Ming found 2 more crystals that contained extreme yin qi. Then, a pitch-black vortex appeared in the air. This was the vortex that led to the 16th floor. The 18 levels of hell, every 3 levels of difficulty will increase greatly. I wonder how difficult the 16th floor will be. Let's go take a look. Lu Ming took a step forward, rushed through the door, and entered the 16th floor. Outside the 18 levels of hell, the 16th floor of the stone pagoda lit up. All the experts of the Nether Ape fighting tribe opened their eyes wide, their eyes filled with shock. He has passed the 15th floor. The battle ancestor has passed the 15th floor. An 8th-level heavenly god has passed the 15th floor. This is unbelievable, a miracle. A peerless genius, a peerless genius. Under the leadership of the battle ancestor, the Nether Ape fighting tribe will definitely rise. In the future, our name will spread throughout the Taishu dynasty. No, it will spread throughout the primitive universe. Some of the Nether Ape fighting tribe members couldn't help but shout, their faces flushed with excitement. They were all old monsters who had lived for countless years, and they had seen all kinds of things. However, they had never heard of someone as talented as Lu Ming. It was no wonder that they were so excited. Even Yuan Huan and Yuan Tsung's breaths became heavy. The 16th floor. What a terrifying ghost. Lu Ming was shocked. As soon as he arrived at the 16th floor, he was besieged by many ghosts. These ghosts were all in the first level of the King God realm. A large number of ghosts in the first level of the King God realm besieged Lu Ming. Fortunately, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved greatly over the years, so he was able to fend off these ghost attacks. If Lu Ming had just entered the 18 levels of hell, he wouldn't have been able to fend off these ghosts and would have been killed by them. He killed his way out of the encirclement and found a stone pillar to rest. After resting, he charged out again. In this way, Lu Ming spent a few years and finally found the Ghost King. After finding the Ghost King, Lu Ming turned around and left without hesitation. The main reason was that the Ghost King and his subordinates were too terrifying. Under the Ghost King's lead, thousands of ghosts swarmed toward Lu Ming. Judging from their auras, the Ghost King's cultivation had reached the 3rd level of the King God realm. Moreover, it was the kind of King God realm that had awakened the origin divine power factor twice. With this kind of strength, he could kill the Ghost King of the 15th floor in one move. Moreover, the ghosts under his command were all at the King God realm. There was no lack of existences like the Zombie King with golden fur. Among them, there were a few terrifying generals in the 2nd level of the King God realm that had awakened the origin divine power factor twice. This was equivalent to the Ghost King of the 15th floor. Although his subordinates were ghosts, they were already so terrifying. With so many of them rushing toward Lu Ming, it would be strange if he didn't run. Chapter 3181. The 16th floor's Ghost King and his army were too terrifying. With Lu Ming's current strength, if he was surrounded, he would die. Lu Ming executed the 9 heavens Garuda art and fled like a bolt of lightning. In the process of escaping, Lu Ming took out a jade talisman. He exerted force with his fingers and crushed the jade talisman. A powerful force shrouded Lu Ming. The next moment, Lu Ming disappeared from the 16th level of hell. This jade talisman was given to Lu Ming by Yuan Huan. As long as Lu Ming crushed it, he could be transported out of the 18th floor of hell at any time. Although there were still 50 years before the founding of the Taishu dynasty, Lu Ming didn't want to try anymore. If he wanted to defeat the 16th floor's Ghost King and his army, Lu Ming's combat strength would have to make another major breakthrough. For example, Lu Ming's cultivation had to break through to the God King realm. Or, his sovereign God Force origin God Force had to awaken a second time. Or, his other 5 divine grade God Force had to awaken their origin God Force. Only then would Lu Ming be able to pass the 16th floor. Otherwise, there was no way. However, it was extremely difficult to achieve any of these conditions. Without a great opportunity, it wasn't something that could be achieved in a few decades. For example, breaking through to the God King realm. Breaking through to the God King realm was a huge hurdle. If an ordinary person wanted to break through, not only would they need a large amount of resources, they would also need to accumulate talent and opportunity. Not to mention that Lu Ming controlled 10 types of God Force. It would be even more difficult for him to break through. Moreover, the building blocks and other treasures he had obtained before were almost used up. He only had 2 pieces of crystals left, which weren't enough to support his breakthrough. Since he couldn't pass the 16th floor in a few decades, Lu Ming might as well leave. After all, he had cultivated here for many years. He was afraid that during the autumn moon, Blue Merchant and the others would be worried. A surge of energy carried Lu Ming, and in the next moment, Lu Ming found himself outside the 18th floor of Hell. Looking around, he saw the Nether Ape Battle Tribe members staring at Lu Ming. "Greetings, Battle Ancestor." Then, all of the Dark Ape Battle Tribe members bowed respectfully to Lu Ming, including Grand Elder Yuan Kong. "Everyone, there's no need for such formalities." Lu Ming hurriedly waved his hand. These Netherworld apes were all elites. Although he had become the new battle progenitor, he couldn't order them around. Who knew if they would ignore him? If you want others to be dead set on you, you have to have both ability and integrity. "Battle Ancestor, I was blind before. Please punish me." At this moment, the first elder walked over and bowed deeply towards Lu Ming. Now, he was completely convinced by Lu Ming. He could already tell that Lu Ming's cultivation had already reached half-step Divine King. When Lu Ming entered the 18th floor of Hell, he was only an 8th-level heavenly god. He had never heard of anyone who could break through 2 levels in just 100 years in the 18th floor of Hell. That speed of improvement was too fast. Moreover, Lu Ming had passed the 15th floor and entered the 16th. His talent was even higher than Jing Yu's. At this moment, he wholeheartedly supported Lu Ming as the new battle ancestor. He would fight anyone who disagreed. "You're too serious, Grand Elder. You're just thinking for the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. How can you punish me?" Lu Ming quickly helped Yuan Song up. Everyone in the Nether Ape Battle Tribe smiled. The new battle ancestor was not only talented, but also amiable and generous. This was undoubtedly the best for them. "Battle Ancestor, now that you've passed the test, let's return to the tribe and hold the ceremony so that all of the Nether Ape Battle Tribe members can recognize you." Yuan Huan walked over and said. Lu Ming nodded. After that, they returned to the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. Yuan Huan announced that the Battle Ancestor succession ceremony would be held. Countless Nether Apes gathered. On this day, Lu Ming officially became the Battle Ancestor of the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. In a large hall, "Patriarch, how is the strength of the Nether Ape Battle Tribe now? How many experts are there in each level?" Lu Ming asked. "Battle Ancestor, there are detailed records in this bone talisman. Please take a look." Yuan Huan took out a bone talisman and handed it to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took the bone talisman and used his spiritual consciousness to check it. The bone talisman contained the names of the Nether Ape Battle Tribe members, followed by their corresponding cultivation level. Lu Ming's eyes widened, and he was tongue-tied. He was truly shocked. The number of Nether Ape Battle Tribe members was far beyond his imagination. The most apex were naturally Divine Lord Realm powerhouses. There were more than 100 Divine Lords in the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. Yes, there were more than 100 Divine Lords. This was the Divine Lords. Every one of them was an existence that could explode stars. There were more than 100 Divine Lords in the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. Did all the Divine Lords in the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace add up to 100? Not necessarily. In other words, if the Nether Ape Battle Tribe went all out, their strength might not be weaker than the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace. This was the Divine Lords. As for the number of Divine Kings, it was uncountable. And now, this force was under Lu Ming's control. Lu Ming's heart suddenly thumped. "Battle Tribe, this is all the strength of the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. We are at your disposal at any time." Yuan Huan said. Calm down, calm down." Lu Ming took a few deep breaths to calm himself down. Although the Nether Ape Battle Tribe was strong, compared to the Taishu dynasty, it was probably much weaker. Therefore, even if he brought the Nether Ape Battle Tribe members to the Taishu Saint capital to investigate Jing Yu's death, it would not work. If others knew about the relationship between the Nether Ape Battle Tribe and Jing Yu, it would probably be quickly destroyed. One had to know that the Nether Ape Battle Tribe was not the only force under Jing Yu's control. There were other powerful forces, but they were all destroyed in the end. Therefore, now was not the time to mobilize the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. Clan leader, Senior Jing Yu was framed and killed. I will definitely investigate this matter thoroughly. When the time comes, I will definitely need the strength of the Nether Ape Battle Tribe. However, now is not the time. When I need your help, I will come to you," Lu Ming said. Then, Lu Ming continued, "Now, I am going to the Taishu Saint capital to do something important. Time is running out. I have to leave the ghost region first. Clan leader, where's the other exit? Battle ancestor, take this bone talisman. When you come to the ghost region in the future, you can send me a message. I will bring you to the other exit," Yuan Huan said. Then, Lu Ming followed Yuan Huan to a secret place. There was a large altar here. Yuan Huan told him that this was the other exit of the ghost region. Normally, the Nether Ape Battle Tribe would seal this place to prevent outsiders from sensing it. Open! Yuan Huan let out a low growl. Rays of divine light emanated from his hands and entered the altar. The altar trembled slightly and radiance filled the air. Then, a pitch-black vortex appeared. Chapter 3182. The exit of the ghost realm was opened. Farewell, clan leader. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Yuan Huan and stepped into the whirlpool. The light rays fell into darkness. However, not long after, the light rays lit up again and Lu Ming realized that he had appeared in a starry sky. From afar, there was a planet floating in front of him. That planet was the planet where they had entered the ghost realm. Obviously, the other entrance of the ghost realm was not on that planet, but in the starry sky of the universe. Let's go back to the starry camp. Lu Ming's heart moved as he unleashed the Nine Heavens Kuan Pong technique. Like a Kuan Pong flying in the starry sky, he flew towards the Nine Heavens Heavenly King Mansion at an astonishing speed. The Nine Heavenly King Mansion was heavily guarded. However, when Lu Ming revealed his identity as a disciple of the starry camp, he easily entered the Nine Heavenly King Mansion and returned to the starry camp. After returning to the starry camp, Lu Ming first met Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon was naturally happy to see Lu Ming return. After all, Lu Ming had disappeared for more than 100 years, and she was very worried about him. Although it was normal to cultivate for tens of thousands of years at their level, she could not help but be worried. After meeting Autumn Moon, Lu Ming found Wu Ming and Wu Yu to ask about Blue Maple. Wu Ming and Wu Yu told him that Blue Maple had left the Nine Heavenly King Mansion more than 100 years ago and returned to the Taishu Holy Capital. Lu Ming nodded and headed towards Blue Merchant's residence. Blue Merchant was also very excited when he saw Lu Ming. After all, when Blue Maple came out of the ghost realm and the Nine Heavenly King Mansion sealed the entrance, Blue Merchant was very worried. He was afraid that something had happened to Lu Ming. Now that he saw Lu Ming, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Ming, how is the Dark Ape Fighting Tribe? Did they submit to you? Blue Merchant asked. Success. Lu Ming nodded. Blue Merchant let out a long sigh and revealed a joyful expression. As Jingyu's teacher, he knew very well how powerful the Dark Ape Battle Clan was. Now that Lu Ming had subdued the Dark Ape Battle Clan, he finally had some foundation to establish himself. Immediately, Lu Ming told Blue Merchant about the general situation of the demon ghost. You have broken through to the half-step Divine King realm? Blue Merchant's eyes shone brightly as he stared at Lu Ming, revealing a trace of pleasant surprise. His soul force was extremely powerful, and he immediately sensed Lu Ming's cultivation. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. Good. Come, Lu Ming. Attack me with all your strength. Let me see how strong you are now. Blue Merchant said. Full power. Lu Ming said. That's right, go all out. Don't worry, with your strength, you can't hurt me. Blue Merchant smiled faintly. Lu Ming naturally knew that he could not hurt Blue Merchant at all. Blue Merchant was someone who could defeat a peak Divine King. All right. Lu Ming nodded and then activated the battle symbol formula to increase his combat strength by 5 times. After so many years of cultivation, Lu Ming's chances of activating the battle symbol formula had increased from 1 in 50 to 1 in 30. After activating it a few times, Lu Ming successfully activated the battle symbol formula to increase his combat strength by 5 times. Divine Dragon Image? Lu Ming shouted as he waved his fists. 9-clawed dragon continued to condense in the sky. In the end, 36 9-clawed dragons were formed and pounced towards Blue Merchant. 36 dragons, not bad. Blue Merchant nodded. He still had his hands behind his back. The space between his eyebrows glowed, and a powerful soul power rushed out like waves towards the 36 nine-clawed dragons. Struck by this force, the 36 nine-clawed divine dragons instantly collapsed, turning into energy and disappearing. It did not affect Lan Shang at all. However, at the same time that he used the divine dragon image formula, Lu Ming went all out and transformed into a green-armored ancient god. Then, the gate of domination appeared above his head. Lu Ming stretched out his hand, grabbed the gate of domination, and blasted it towards Blue Merchant. Blue Merchant's expression did not change. He still had his hands behind his back. When the gate of domination was about to hit his head, he stretched out a palm and pushed it forward. Boom! The gate of domination shook violently. Lu Ming's body also shook, and then he retreated with the gate of domination. As for Blue Merchant, he was completely fine. Is that all you've got? Blue Merchant said lightly. Again. Lu Ming shouted. All the divine power in his body was mobilized and surged wildly. Buzz. The gate of domination trembled slightly, then pressed down on Lan Shang. At the same time, Lu Ming's hand glowed and an ancient stone spear appeared. It was the Overlord God's spear. Supernova. Lu Ming shouted and stabbed out with the spear. The combination of the Origin's secret technique, the Overlord God's spear, and the supernova turned into a terrifying energy that rushed towards Blue Merchant. This was Lu Ming's strongest attack so far. The battle formula increased his combat strength by 5 times, and the green-armored ancient god, 2 Origin's secret techniques. Lu Ming's divine power was instantly sucked dry. This is the second Origin's secret technique? Blue Merchant's eyes lit up, and then he struck out with his palm. Rumble. Blue Merchant struck out with his palm, and heaven and earth shook violently. The terrifying palm energy rushed towards Lu Ming like an avalanche. The gate of domination was the first to bear the brunt of the impact. After shaking a few times, it quickly shrank and disappeared. Then, Lu Ming's attack was completely defeated. The powerful impact hit Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body shook violently, and he retreated until he was 10,000 meters away. I'm done fighting. Lu Ming took a few deep breaths, and then his body shrank quickly. He had used all his strength, and there was no need to continue fighting. This is your strongest combat strength? Blue Merchant asked. That's right. Lu Ming nodded. It's already shocking enough for you to have this kind of battle prowess at your level of cultivation, Blue Merchant said. Before Lu Ming could rejoice, Blue Merchant continued, but with your current strength, it's impossible for you to enter the top 10 when the Taishu Imperial Academy convenes. Impossible? Lu Ming's gaze froze. At first, he was a little unconvinced, but when he thought of Blue Maple, his unconvinced heart disappeared without a trace. Blue Maple's strength was shocking. With his current strength, he probably wouldn't be Blue Maple's match even if he attacked with all his strength. Then, how many people in the Taishu dynasty were comparable to Blue Maple, or even stronger than Blue Maple? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's expression turned serious. Although you're strong, you have a lot of weaknesses. First of all, the ancient god body consumes a lot of stamina. Also, your battle formula should have increased your combat strength by 5 times, but the triggering rate is too low. In a big battle, your opponent won't give you the time to trigger it successfully, Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed, the most suitable thing for him now was 4 times his combat strength, which had a 100% success rate. However, the triggering rate of 5 times his combat strength was too low. In a battle between geniuses, the slightest difference could lead to a huge difference. Who would give you time to trigger it? P.S. Readers, I'm the Shepherd Boy Ting Zhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, 0 ads, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3183. Therefore, if you want to enter the top 10 by the time the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court opens, there are 2 areas that you must make a major breakthrough in. That is your cultivation and origin source divine force factor. You must make a breakthrough in one of these 2 areas for you to have the confidence. For example, your cultivation must reach the Divine King realm, or awaken your origin source divine force factor for the other divine grade divine forces, or the second awakening of your sovereign divine force? Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. The Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court was not far away. How could he make a breakthrough in these areas in such a short time? Any breakthrough would require a lot of time. It's less than 60 years before the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court opens. To be precise, it's 56 years. Under normal circumstances, it's impossible to make a breakthrough in any aspect in 56 years. However, there are some supreme treasures that might allow you to make a breakthrough in a short time. Blue Merchant said. I'm afraid the price of such treasures is ridiculously high. It's not easy to get them. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Just because the 9 extinction Heavenly King residence doesn't mean that the Great Void Imperial family doesn't have them. In the Great Void Holy Capital, some of the major forces and aristocratic families have some treasures that can suppress their foundations. The effects are very heaven-defying, and some of them can help you break through. Therefore, I plan to bring you to the Great Void Holy Capital first. After all, the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court is about to start. Blue Merchant said. Going to the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court? Lu Ming's eyes lit up with anticipation. If the 9 extinction Heavenly King residence was so magnificent, how magnificent would the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court be? Anyway, he would have to go to the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court sooner or later. When I was in the Great Void Imperial Family Holy Court, I was doing pretty well. I have some friends who have gone through life and death situations with me. I'll ask them to let you use those treasures to make a breakthrough in your cultivation. Get ready. We'll set off in 2 days. Blue Merchant said. All right. By the way, Lan Shu, can I bring the others with me? Lu Ming asked. You want to bring the girl with you, right? Of course. Blue Merchant said. Thank you, Lan Shu. Lu Ming said. He was indeed going to bring Autumn Moon along. With Autumn Moon's talent, it shouldn't be difficult for her to enter the Great Void Imperial Academy. Only by cultivating in the Great Void Imperial Sacred Academy would he be able to improve faster by Autumn Moon. After returning to his residence, he told Xiao Autumn Moon about going to the Great Void Holy Capital. For the next 2 days, they didn't cultivate. Instead, they quietly enjoyed life. 2 days later, Lu Ming brought Autumn Moon to Blue Merchant's place. At the entrance of the Blue Merchant's courtyard, Lu Ming saw an ordinary-looking young woman. Who is this? Lu Ming was surprised. However, when Lu Ming saw the expression of the ordinary-looking woman, Lu Ming knew who she was. When the ordinary-looking woman saw Lu Ming, she harumphed coldly. Especially when she glanced at Autumn Moon, her gaze became even colder. Lan Ling. Needless to say, Lu Ming also knew that this woman was Lan Ling. Obviously, Lan Ling had disguised herself. Lu Ming knew that Lan Ling would definitely follow Blue Merchant to the Great Void Holy Capital. However, the son of the Grand Tutor, Wu Fan, had his eyes on Lan Ling. If Lan Ling went to the Great Void Holy Capital with her real appearance, she would definitely encounter unnecessary trouble. Blue Merchant walked out of the courtyard and said, Everyone is here. Let's go. The 9 extinction Heavenly King residence was very far away from the Great Void Holy Capital. They were separated by many galaxies. Even if they took the interstellar transmission formation, it still took them a few years to reach the Great Void Holy Capital. Is that the Great Void Holy Capital? Standing in the starry sky of the universe and looking ahead, Lu Ming and Qiu Yu were both dumbfounded. Even though they were mentally prepared, the Great Void Holy Capital was still beyond Lu Ming's imagination. In front of them, there was a huge city floating in the universe. Yes, it was a huge city. It was a pitch-black, ancient city. It was so huge that it was even bigger than a planet of life. A city that was bigger than a planet of life. What kind of concept was that? Around this huge city, there were many planets of life that revolved around the huge city. Lu Ming counted. There were a total of 36 planets. 36 planets were revolving around a huge city. This scene was simply too shocking. You're really inexperienced. Seeing Lu Ming and Autumn Moon's dumbfounded expressions, Lan Ling took the opportunity to harumph. Of course, Lu Ming ignored Lan Ling's words. He was now completely immune to Lan Ling. Let's go. Lan Shang looked at the great illusionary saint capital with a complicated expression on his face, after which he flew towards the huge city. Lu Ming and the rest followed behind. The closer they got to the huge city, the more they felt how majestic it was. In each direction of the huge city, there were 8 city gates. On top of the city walls, there were all kinds of weapons that were extremely terrifying. Needless to say, there were definitely powerful people on top of the city walls. If they wanted to enter the Great Void Holy Capital, they could only enter through those city gates. Slowly, they flew towards one of the city gates. What a huge city gate! Lu Ming exclaimed. Each city gate was extremely huge. It was more than 1,000,000 miles long and wide. Even huge races could easily pass through the city gates. From afar, they could see countless living beings flying towards the city gates. Lu Ming and the rest lined up and followed the crowd as they flew towards the city gates. To enter the Great Void Holy Capital, they had to register their information and leave behind their life aura. This was very similar to entering the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence. Soon, it was Lu Ming and the rest's turn. Isn't that Blue Merchant? It's really Blue Merchant. He's back. Why is he back? Should we report this to the higher-ups? No need. His star core has been destroyed. He's just a useless person. There's no need to report this. The soldiers guarding the city clearly recognized Lan Shang and whispered to each other. You. Lan Ling was unhappy and wanted to throw a tantrum. However, she was stopped by Blue Merchant. Register our information, Blue Merchant said plainly. Ever since Jingyu died and his star core was destroyed, he had heard such mockery many times. Hee. The guards laughed contemptuously and then registered Lan Shang and the others. After registering, they passed through the city gates and entered the Great Void Holy Capital. Walking through the city gates, they saw countless buildings. There were all kinds of tall and ancient buildings. There was no end in sight. The wide streets were at least a few thousand miles wide. A large number of living beings walked on the streets. It was extremely bustling. Many of the living beings exuded terrifying auras. Lu Ming was shocked when he sensed it. God Kings on the streets. There were God Kings everywhere. The number of God Kings was more than those below the God King level. How many God Kings were there in the Great Void Holy Capital? Now that the Great Void Imperial Family's sacred courtyard is getting closer, experts from all over the world are gathering here. That's why there are so many God Kings on the streets. Otherwise, even in the Great Void Holy Capital, there wouldn't be so many God Kings. Blue Merchant explained. P.S. Readers, I'm the Shepherd Boy Ting Zhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, 0 advertisements, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3184. Lu Ming nodded his head. This was normal. However, even so, it was terrifying enough. A God King expert was considered a top expert in Qin Tian Starfield. But here, they were nothing. There were too many of them, and there were too many of them. Lu Ming felt a sense of urgency. With his current strength, he was definitely an overlord in Qin Tian Starfield. Lu Ming was confident that he could kill a God King 4th Heaven in Qin Tian Starfield. However, he was nothing in Great Void Sage Capital. There were too many people who could kill him. One could imagine how powerful the major forces in Great Void Sage Capital were. It would be difficult to overturn the case for Jingyu. Lu Ming had a long way to go. They followed Blue Merchant and walked around. Soon, they arrived at a courtyard. This courtyard was relatively secluded, but it was also rather quiet. I bought this when I was in Great Void Sage Capital. As it is secluded and not big, it was not taken away. Let's stay here for the time being, Blue Merchant said. He then opened the door and walked in. The courtyard was not big, but it was well equipped. There were more than 10 rooms, which was enough for them to use. Everyone found their rooms and stayed in them. The next day, Lu Ming, I will bring you to an old friend of mine today, Blue Merchant said. All right. Lu Ming nodded his head. Lu Ming, in the Taishu Sacred Capital, you must not let others know that you are Jingyu's successor. At the very least, before you are powerful enough, you must not let others know about it. Otherwise, you will be killed. Blue Merchant warned. I understand. Lu Ming nodded his head. Also, Wu Fan, the son of the imperial tutor, has his eyes on Ling Er. Therefore, I cannot treat you as my son-in-law. Otherwise, Wu Fan will find trouble with you. Blue Merchant frowned and mumbled. Lu Ming couldn't wait for Blue Merchant to not treat him as a son-in-law. How about this? In the future, in front of outsiders, you can treat me as your disciple. In any case, I'm a cripple. Others shouldn't care too much if I accept a disciple, Blue Merchant said. The two of them walked out of the courtyard and headed north, chatting as they walked. My old friend is from a great family in Taishu's Saint capital, the Guanggu clan. They are not like the Jin clan and the Qin clan of the Nine Extinction, Heavenly King Mansion. They are much stronger than them. The patriarch of the Guanggu clan and I went through life and death together when we were young. There's a kind of divine pill in the Guanggu clan called the Nirvana pill. It's extremely effective. If a half-step divine king realm cultivator takes it, he or she will have a 50 to 60% chance of breaking through to the divine king realm. Even if a divine king cultivator takes it, he or she will have a great chance of breaking through to the divine king realm without any side effects. Blue Merchant said, it can allow a half-step divine king to have a 50 to 60% chance of breaking through to the divine king realm. This effect is truly heaven-defying. Lu Ming was taken aback. He was very shocked. It was extremely difficult to break through to the divine king realm. Countless experts were stuck in the half-step divine king realm. However, the Nirvana pill could allow a person to have a 50 to 60% chance of breaking through. This was already extremely heaven-defying. Moreover, if a divine king cultivator took it, he or she would have a great chance of breaking through to the next level. Most importantly, there were no side effects. Lu Ming knew of a kind of divine pill called the King Breakthrough Pill. It could also allow a divine king to break through to the next level. Back then, the Jin clan and the Qin clan had given the King Breakthrough Pill to the invincible Kenzo sect master of the Qin Tian Starfield, allowing them to break through to the fourth layer of the divine king realm. However, the King Breakthrough Pill had a great side effect. Once it was used, it would exhaust one's potential, and it would be difficult to break through in the future. However, the Nirvana pill did not have any side effects. Its value was many times higher than the King Breakthrough Pill. However, the Nirvana pill can only be used once. It's only effective for the first time. The second time, there's almost no effect. You haven't used it before. With your talent, you should have a great chance of breaking through to the divine king realm, Blue Merchant explained. Lu Ming sighed. The Great Void Sage capital was indeed the Great Void Sage capital. It even had such a divine pill. The two of them chatted as they walked. Along the way, Blue Merchant told Lu Ming many things about the Great Void Sage capital, so that Lu Ming could better adapt to life in the Great Void Sage capital. Not long after, they arrived at a teleportation zone. They stepped onto a teleportation formation. Yes, it was a teleportation formation. The Great Void Sage capital was too big. It was bigger than a life planet. Its territory was vast, and there were countless living beings living there. If everyone flew in the air, it would be a little messy. Therefore, many short-distance teleportation formations were set up in the Great Void Sage capital. It could be used to teleport people back and forth within the Great Void Sage capital. This way, it would be very convenient for one to go to a certain place. Not long after, Lu Ming and the rest arrived at the northern region. They came before a huge mansion. The mansion was huge, and it occupied a vast area. This was the mansion of the Guanggu clan. Blue Merchant told them the reason for their visit. Naturally, someone went to inform them. Ha ha ha, Brother Lon, long time no see. What brings you here? Not long after, a middle-aged man walked out and laughed heartily. This man was the head of the Guanggu clan, Guanggujian. Brother Guanggu, how have you been? Blue Merchant clasped his fists. Haha, I'm still the same. Come, let's go in and have a drink. Guanggujian said. In a courtyard, Lu Ming, Blue Merchant, Guanggujian, and a young man sat at a table. They chatted as they drank. After chatting, they found out that the young man was Guanggujian's son, Guanggulang. Guanggujian looked at Lu Ming curiously. Brother Guanggu, this is my new disciple. His name is Lu Ming. Blue Merchant introduced. Lu Ming greets Senior Guanggu. Lu Ming clasped his fists and bowed. Uncle Lan Shu, is this your new disciple? Guan Gulong's sighs looming up curiously. There was a hint of contempt in his eyes as he said, Uncle Lan, your cultivation was crippled back then. I didn't expect your judgment to deteriorate. You're not good at teaching disciples anymore. You're not even a divine king. The disdain in his words was very obvious. At this point, Guan Gulong's tone changed again. He said, Uncle Lan, you haven't come to look for my father for so many years. Could it be that you have something to ask my father for help this time? Blue Merchant's hand that was holding the cup stiffened. It would be strange if he felt good to be looked down upon by a junior. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. This Guan Gulong was asking for a beating. He had been mocking him since the beginning. Lang what nonsense are you talking about? How can you talk to your Uncle Lan Shu like that? Guan Gujian reprimanded. However, his voice wasn't loud. Anyone could tell that Guan Gujian wasn't angry at all. He was just pretending to reprimand. Father, I'm wrong. Guan Gulong pretended to admit his mistake, but the contempt on his face was even thicker. P.S. Readers, I'm the shepherd boy Ting Zhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, zero advertisements, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3185. Brother Lan, please don't mind the outspoken young man. Guan Gujian looked at Blue Merchant and said with a smile. When he said that Guan Gulong was frank and outspoken, it was obvious that he was only saying that Guan Gulong was frank and did not say that he was wrong. Blue Merchant smiled bitterly and said, Brother Guan Gujian, your nephew is right. I am here today to ask for a favor. Brother Lan, please speak your mind. Guan Gujian said without a change in expression, Brother Guan Gujian, I would like to borrow a nirvana pill. Lan Shang went straight to the point and stated the purpose of his visit. What? You want to borrow a nirvana pill? Before Guan Gujian could say anything, Guan Gulong shouted exaggeratedly, You came to my father with bad intentions. You want to borrow a nirvana pill? Do you know how much it costs to refine a nirvana pill? All kinds of rare divine herbs and 9 alchemists. It takes 99,000 years to refine one. Can you afford to borrow such a precious nirvana pill? You want to borrow the nirvana pill for this kid, right? Forgive me for being blunt, but this kid is still a half-step God King. Even if he breaks through, he is still a piece of trash. He won't be chosen by the Great Void Imperial Academy. You better give up. Guan Gujian shouted louder and louder. In the end, his face was full of disdain. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant frowned. Langer, that's enough. Cut it out. Guan Gujian scolded again. Guan Gulong smiled coldly and didn't say anything. Brother Lan, my son is outspoken, but he is right about one thing. It is not easy to refine a nirvana pill. Our Guan Gujian clan doesn't have many of them. Plus, we used almost all of them to prepare for the Great Void Imperial Academy. We really don't have any left. Guan Gujian smiled bitterly. You don't have any left? Blue Merchant's frown deepened. That's right. I don't have any left. How about this? If Brother Lan is really in trouble, just ask for a few tens of thousands of high-grade divine crystals. I can still afford it. Guan Gujian smiled faintly. Brother Guan Gujian. Blue Merchant still wanted to say something. Teacher, let's go. At this moment, Lu Ming stood up and turned around to leave. The other party clearly didn't want to give them the heavenly nirvana pills, and he even said several tens of thousands of high-grade divine crystals. Was he trying to dismiss beggars? Rather than continue to be humiliated by the other party, it was better to just leave. Blue Merchant sighed in his heart. He cupped his fists at Guan Gujian and left. Haha, you don't even want several tens of thousands of high-grade divine crystals? You're just a piece of trash, yet you still have some pride. There's also that Blue Merchant, a person whose star core has been destroyed. Does he still think that he's the Blue Merchant from back then? You want the heavenly nirvana pill the moment you open your mouth. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror? Guan Gulong sneered. Guan Gujian smiled and didn't reprimand Guan Gujian. Instead, he said, Lang don't worry about these trivial matters. Your goal now is to cultivate well and try to enter the Taishu Imperial Academy. Do you understand? Father, don't worry. I'm 100% confident that I'll be able to enter the Great Void Imperial Academy. Guangalong's face was filled with confidence. Lu Ming and Blue Merchant walked side by side as they returned to their residence. Sigh. This world is just so realistic. Blue Merchant sighed on the way back. Back then, when his cultivation wasn't destroyed and he was at his peak, many people tried to curry favor with him. His relationship with Guangujian was also very good, but now, he was only asking for a heavenly nirvana pill, yet he was mocked and ridiculed by the other party. Lan Shu, don't worry about it. After all, there's still more than 50 years. I might be able to break through to the Divine King realm. Lu Ming comforted. It's fine. After so many years, I'm already used to it. Moreover, I have more than one friend in the holy capital, Blue Merchant said with a smile. Not long after, they returned to their residence. The next day, Blue Merchant went out again. It was obvious that he was going to ask for help from his other friends. However, this time, he didn't bring Lu Ming with him. Not long after, Blue Merchant returned with a gloomy face. Needless to say, he didn't succeed again. For the next 10 days, Blue Merchant would go out every day. However, every time he went out with hope, he would return with disappointment. Time passed quickly. They had been in the Taishu holy capital for a month. During this month, Lu Ming cultivated peacefully. The cultivation environment in the Taishu holy capital was indeed extraordinary. Their residence was already considered remote, but the cultivation effect was no worse than the starry camp. On this day, Blue Merchant looked for Lu Ming with a joyful face. Lu Ming, your chance is here. Blue Merchant said happily. Lan Shu, what's so good that you're so happy? Lu Ming said with a smile. Lu Ming, you have a chance to cultivate in the heavenly jade annulus of the Bone Sword tribe. Blue Merchant said. The heavenly jade annulus of the Bone Sword tribe? Lu Ming was puzzled. That's right. The celestial jade annulus of the Bone Sword tribe is an extremely famous treasure even in the great illusionary divine realm. It's extremely helpful in comprehending the origin divine power factors of various types of divine powers. It can even help one awaken their origin secret techniques. Not long ago, the Bone Sword tribe released news that they're gathering people below the 3rd level of the King God realm to help them with something. As long as you complete it, you can cultivate under the heavenly jade annulus. Blue Merchant explained. What do you want me to do? Lu Ming asked. At the same time, he was looking forward to it. Lu Ming was very interested in something that could greatly help in cultivating the origin of divine powers. He now had 5 divine grade divine powers and had awakened 99% of them. If he cultivated step by step, it would take a long time for him to break through. However, if he was lucky, he might be able to break through in a short period of time. Help the Bone Sword tribe enter a place and retrieve a material called swordbone. Blue Merchant immediately explained in more detail. The Bone Sword tribe used to be an extremely powerful tribe in the distant past. At their peak, they were even ranked in the prehistoric 10,000 tribes list. They were even stronger than the Taishu dynasty. However, they were now in decline. Compared to their peak, they were much weaker. They had become a tribe of the Taishu dynasty. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Bone Sword tribe's foundation was still deep. The heavenly jade annulus was one of the Bone Sword tribe's foundations. Cultivating under the heavenly jade annulus was extremely helpful to one's origin of divine powers. However, the Bone Sword tribe had a secret realm that contained a precious material called swordbone. It was extremely helpful to the Bone Sword tribe. However, this secret realm had a great restriction. Those above the 3rd level of the King God realm couldn't enter. Even the Bone Sword tribe couldn't enter. Therefore, every once in a while, the Bone Sword tribe would invite people below the 3rd level of the King God realm to enter the secret realm and collect sword bones for them. They would also give out rewards. There were all sorts of rewards, and all of them were precious. However, they had never given out a reward for entering the heavenly jade annulus to cultivate. Therefore, when the news spread this time, it attracted many young geniuses to go. P.S. Readers, I am the Shepherd Boy Ting Zhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, no ads, and many reading modes. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.